5 ancient fragments, 3 teeth, a finger bone and a jaw, are all that physically remain of a mysterious species of human. Yet somehow their DNA lives on in millions of us today, influencing how some people breathe at high altitudes or resist certain diseases. The official story of human evolution barely mentions them. How can a vanished people with almost no bones left behind shape who we are? This is the mystery of the mysterious humans who left no bodies but live in your DNA. We're about to break open a scientific detective story where the clues aren't found in caves, but inside our own blood. The real puzzle begins with what those 5 tiny fossils couldn't show. Denisova Cave sits in the cold shadows of the Altai Mountains, a place where the wind has swept away almost every trace of its ancient visitors. In the 1970s, Anatoly Derevianko and his team began digging. They worked through layer after layer, 20 in all, hoping for a breakthrough. What they found was not the treasure trove of skeletons that fills textbooks, but a puzzle so sparse it bordered on absurd. A pinky bone, a few molars, a partial jaw. Fewer than a dozen physical fossils scattered across thousands of years and hundreds of square miles. Most came from this single cave, but one jawbone turned up in Tibet at the roof of the world, and another molar surfaced in Southeast Asia. Each fragment was bagged, tagged and logged, often with little fanfare. Sometimes a tooth would sit in a box for years before anyone noticed its odd shape or ancient wear. In Denisova's main chamber, the famous finger bone was found mixed among animal bones, so nondescript it nearly got tossed aside. No skulls, no full skeletons, just these scraps. Yet the cave sediment layers told a different story. They revealed wave after wave of occupation. Neanderthals, Denisovans and modern humans, all passing through, sometimes leaving only a single tooth as a calling card. Derevianko described the process as cataloguing shadows, chasing a people who seemed to vanish the moment you looked for them. With so few bones, traditional archaeology hit a wall. The only way forward was to search for evidence that couldn't be seen, whatever secrets those tiny fossils might still hold inside. The next step would have to come from the invisible world of molecules, not bones. Inside a sealed laboratory in Leipzig, a tiny bone fragment sat under glass, waiting for its secrets to be unlocked. The team at the Max Planck Institute, led by Svante Parbo, and Johannes Krause, worked in silence, every movement precise, every tool sterilized. Contamination was the enemy. Even a single stray skin cell could ruin months of work, so researchers wore full-body suits and filtered air hissed overhead. The bone itself was unremarkable to the naked eye, but inside, its DNA had survived for tens of thousands of years, protected from the Siberian cold. Extracting ancient DNA is a gamble. Most attempts yield nothing but fragments too damaged to read. But this time, as the sequencers whirred, the data began to appear, long, unbroken stretches of genetic code. It was late at night when the first results came in. Krause remembers the moment clearly. The code didn't match Neanderthals. It didn't match modern humans either. The lab filled with a kind of electric disbelief, people gathering around computer screens, whispering numbers and base pairs. The data told a story no one had expected. A third branch of the human family tree, hidden in a single fingertip. This was the first time scientists had discovered a new kind of human, not by digging up a skull or a skeleton, but by reading the language of DNA itself. The sequence was so distinct it suggested a population that had split from Neanderthals hundreds of thousands of years earlier. In the scientific papers, they called it a ghost population, a group known almost entirely from genetic traces, not bones. The Denisovan genome was high coverage, nearly complete, and it proved that these mysterious people had once lived, thrived, and mixed with our ancestors. Their bodies might be gone, but their genetic fingerprints were everywhere, waiting for someone to notice. In 2018, a bone fragment from Denisova Cave landed on Vivian Sloan's lab bench. It looked like any other splinter from the site, just a few centimeters long, no hint of what lay inside. The team ran the usual DNA extraction, expecting the same Denisovan or Neanderthal signals as before, but this time something didn't fit. The genetic code split cleanly down the middle. Half the chromosomes matched known Neanderthal sequences, the other half mapped to Denisovan DNA. For a moment, the only explanation was contamination or lab error. Slon and her colleagues checked and rechecked the data, running the tests late into the night. The answer held. This was the genome of a teenage girl, the daughter of a Neanderthal mother and a Denisovan father. Not a distant cousin, an actual first-generation hybrid. She's known today as Deni. Her DNA is a perfect 50-50 blend, the clearest evidence that these two ancient groups didn't just cross paths, they had children together. For paleoanthropology, it was like finding a living witness to Ice Age encounters, proof that the boundaries between human species were far more porous than anyone had guessed. Deni's story rewrote the rulebook, raising new questions about how often these meetings happened and how many other hybrids might be hidden in the genetic record. Denisovan DNA is not just a relic buried in ancient bones, it's alive in millions of people today. In Papua New Guinea and across Melanesia, up to 6% of the genome carries their signature. That's the highest Denisovan ancestry found anywhere. A living echo of ancient meetings. East Asians and Native Americans hold smaller traces, about 0.2%, but those fragments tell their own story of migration and mixing. Sometimes these ancient genes do more than just linger, they give a real advantage. The Epochs 1 gene, for example, lets Tibetans breathe easily at the roof of the world where oxygen is thin and altitude sickness can be deadly. This gene, inherited from Denisovans, is almost absent everywhere else. It's a genetic toolkit for survival, passed down through generations who never knew the source. David Reich, a Harvard geneticist, helped map these patterns, revealing not just a single wave of Denisovan ancestry, but several. In some places, Denisovan DNA bolsters the immune system, protecting against local diseases. In others, it shapes how bodies use oxygen or process food. The Denisovan legacy is not a ghostly presence. It's in blood, lungs, and lives, written into the genetic code of people walking the earth right now. Janet Kelso's team in Leipzig spends their days combing through ancient genomes, but the search isn't confined to DNA anymore. In the deeper layers of Denisova Cave, archaeologists uncovered a green stone bracelet, polished, drilled, shaped with a precision that rivals anything found in Europe from the same era. The artifact is at least 40,000 years old, maybe older. Its craftsmanship is so advanced that, for years, some doubted it could have been made by anyone but modern humans. Yet the soil surrounding the bracelet held Denisovan DNA, and no bones from our own species have been found in those layers. The debate continues, but the bracelet stands as a silent challenge. How much are we missing about these people? The next generation of discoveries may come from places where no bones survive at all. In Baishia Karst Cave on the Tibetan Plateau, a jawbone with Denisovan proteins was identified not by its shape, but by the molecular traces left behind. Sediment DNA, fragments sifted from cave dirt, has already revealed Denisovan presence in places where no fossil remains exist. Now, researchers use AI-guided algorithms to scan genetic data and flag promising sites across Asia and Oceania. Ancient signals have surfaced in Southeast Asia, hinting at a Denisovan range far wider than anyone guessed a decade ago. The hunt is no longer limited to what can be seen or touched. Every year, new tools sharpen the search. Somewhere, in a cave or a layer of undisturbed earth, another clue waits. Proof that these mysterious humans are not just ghosts in our DNA, but ancestors whose story is still being written. Only 5 Denisovan fossils, the remains of 3 teeth, 1 finger bone and 1 jaw, have ever been confirmed by scientists. Yet, their genetic legacy survives in millions of people today, most notably with up to 6% Denisovan DNA found in Melanesian populations. In 2010, the first high-coverage Denisovan genome, extracted from a single finger bone in Siberia's Denisova cave, revealed a distinct branch of ancient humans who interbred with both Neanderthals and Homo sapiens. Genetic evidence shows at least 3 waves of Denisovan ancestry entered modern human populations, leaving behind adaptations like the EPAS1 gene that aids survival at high altitude. Despite these breakthroughs, no full Denisovan skeleton has been discovered, and much about their appearance, culture, and disappearance remains unknown. Ongoing research from sediment DNA analysis to new excavations continues to push the boundaries of what we know. The Denisovan story proves that even the smallest traces can reshape our understanding of human evolution, reminding us that the past still lives on within us, written in our DNA.